3 days, 3 executions. In Iran, the charges are the same: collaboration with Israel. Authorities say spies were eliminated. Rights groups say justice is unclear. Confessions contested, trials questioned. And the timing matters: war outside, crackdown inside. Because in this conflict, the battlefield isn't just beyond the border, it's within. In the span of just 72 hours, Iran carried out 3 separate executions, each tied to allegations of collaboration with Israel. On April 21st, Amirali Mirjafari was hanged. Iranian authorities accused him of being, in their words,
one of the armed elements collaborating with the enemy and the leader of a Mossad network.
They say he helped set fire to the Golhak Grand Mosque in Tehran during protests that swept the country in early January. The Supreme Court had upheld his sentence. He was gone by Tuesday morning. A day later, on April 22nd, Mehdi Farid was executed. He was a former employee of Iran's atomic energy organization from the city of Arak. The Iranian judiciary's news agency, Mizan, said he had made a frank confession to cooperating with Mossad, infecting internal defense networks using USB devices, and handing over classified information, including building locations and staff identities. The Iranian civil society organization Hengar tells a completely different story. According to an informed source cited by Hengar, Farid was an IT student who actually went to Iranian security officials voluntarily, reported the Israeli contact, and handed over what he had received. He cooperated with domestic institutions, the source said, and still, he was sentenced to death. Then came April 23rd. A third man, Soltanali Shirzadi Fakhr, was executed. Mizan identified him as a long-time member of the exiled opposition group Mujahideen-e-Khalq and said he was convicted of cooperating with Israeli intelligence. The Supreme Court had signed off. The sentence was carried out. Human rights organizations have repeatedly warned that access to independent legal counsel in these cases is near impossible, and that confessions obtained under duress are routinely presented as evidence in Iran's revolutionary courts. These 3 executions do not exist in a vacuum. They are part of something much larger and much darker. According to a report by Iran Human Rights and Together Against the Death Penalty, Iran executed at least 1,639 people in 2025 alone. That is the highest recorded number since 1989. It is a 68% increase compared to 2024, when 975 executions were recorded. And the pace is not slowing down. The UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in Iran, Mai Sato, said in a report published March 9th that at least 100 people were executed in January 2026 alone. Iran has been at war with the United States and Israel since February 28th. A fragile 2-week ceasefire came into effect on April 8th. But inside Iran, the crackdown has not paused. Judiciary Chief Gholam Hossein Mohseni AJ has been explicit. He has called for faster implementation of sentences, saying penalties including, and this is a confiscation of property and execution, should be carried out more swiftly. He has described the current moment as a full-scale war against the country. Iran is reportedly preparing to execute its first female protester linked to the recent anti-regime demonstrations, marking a significant escalation in its crackdown on dissent. According to the NCRI, Bita Hamati has been sentenced to death over her alleged role in protests that erupted nationwide earlier this year. The charges against her include the use of explosives and weapons, participation in demonstrations, and actions deemed to threaten national security. Her husband, Mohammad Reza Majid Asl, along with 2 other men, Behrus and Kurush Zamaninejad, have also been sentenced to death following what rights groups describe as a rapid judicial process. A 5th defendant, Amir Hemati, has been sentenced to nearly 6 years in prison on charges of assembly and collusion against national security and propaganda against the regime. The human rights activists' news agency reports that authorities accused the group of conducting operational action for the hostile government of the United States and hostile groups. All of the accused were detained in Tehran, which became the epicenter of the protests. No execution date has been announced so far.
The Iranian resistance once again calls on the United Nations, relevant international bodies, and human rights defenders to take immediate action to save the lives of prisoners sentenced to death, especially political prisoners and those detained during the uprising.
The demonstrations began in late December with strikes by shopkeepers and merchants in Tehran, quickly expanding into nationwide protests involving students and civil groups. According to rights organizations, thousands were killed or injured during the crackdown, while tens of thousands were arrested or detained, a claim the Iranian government rejects. The latest development comes amid broader concerns over Iran's use of capital punishment, with estimates suggesting around 1,600 death sentences were issued over the past year alone. As international pressure mounts, the case of Bita Hemati underscores the intensifying human rights crisis in Iran, where the state's response to dissent continues to draw global scrutiny and alarm. Executions in Iran have surged to their highest level in more than 3 decades, according to a new joint human rights report. According to Iran Human Rights and Together Against the Death Penalty's joint report of 2026, at least 1,639 people were executed in 2025, marking the highest figure since 1989 in the aftermath of the Iran-Iraq War. If the data is believed, that translates to an average of nearly 4 executions per day. Researchers say the spike reflects a sharp escalation in capital punishment, particularly for drug-related and murder convictions. Drug-related executions rose by 58%, while murder-related death sentences increased by 79% compared to the previous year. At least 57 individuals, including 2 protesters, were executed on charges such as waging war against God and corruption on earth, terms often used in political and security cases. The report also highlights that at least 48 women were executed, marking the highest number in 2 decades. Human rights groups say many of these sentences were handed down by revolutionary courts following trials that lacked due process. Marginalized communities, including ethnic and religious minorities, were disproportionately represented among those executed, the report adds. The figures do not fully capture executions linked to the ongoing unrest and conflict environment in 2026. State media has confirmed at least 14 executions so far this year, while the Norway-based Hengor Organization for Human Rights reports evidence of up to 160 hangings since January. 7 of those executions were linked to protest activity following the launch of Operation Epic Fury in late February. Others were reportedly convicted of ties to the opposition group Mujahedin-e-Khalq or accused of espionage. Separately, the human rights activists' news agency has claimed that thousands of protesters were killed during the peak of nationwide unrest, though these figures remain independently unverified. In a further sign of intensification, Iran's judiciary has called for the acceleration of death penalty cases involving alleged agents and affiliates of the enemy. Meanwhile, Houman Forougari, a Zoroastrian religious figure, was arrested in Kerman on March 14th by the intelligence branch of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, according to reports. A source close to him told Iran International that Forougari is under severe pressure to give a forced confession. Forougari's wife, Minu Mehabani, a Zoroastrian researcher and cultural activist, was also arrested during the first week of Nowruz. The couple ran a Telegram channel called Poyandagan Ra Asha, which focused on teaching Zoroastrian religious content. The charges against them have not been announced. and there is no information about their health or current condition. As executions rise sharply amid political unrest and conflict, rights groups warn that Iran's use of capital punishment is entering a new phase, one that could have lasting implications for internal stability and international scrutiny.